It doesn't have to be the US. I think what they need to do is re-strategize and see what other opportunities that exist elsewhere in the rest of the hemisphere. And that's what I would add.
Yeah, I like that thought process, Lennon, and congratulations. We're back live on Facebook and YouTube. So, technology is definitely doing its thing this evening, but we're connected. So if you're joining us on Facebook and YouTube, welcome to the program. We had a slight interruption. We had a slight drop of the program on Facebook and YouTube, but we are back. And if you're just joining us, we're here with Mr. Kent Vital, Mr. Lennon Matthew, and Miss Petra Carbon George. And we're looking at, if not the CBI, then what? With the US ban and other travel restrictions, what is the strategic plan for securing the future of Dominica and the Caribbean region? So welcome back. So yes, so anyone else feel free to chime in. And Kent, especially with regards to you, kind of tell us about your resort and when it opened, more information. And are you concerned whether the U.S. visa ban and the restrictions will have any implications for you?
Yeah. Okay. Well, first, let me say absolutely on your own point. But let me just highlight a few things here. There are a few categories of people who are persons who will be affected for sure. We mentioned the musicians, yes, they will be affected. I suppose students, if I'm wrong, you can correct me. I suppose some students will be affected, and that's important. And the US is an important source for us for education. And in the short term, at least, will be affected. Hope it will blow over in at least 3 years. So chances are it may be a short-term thing. Quite right on point, Lennon, there. Most of the rest of us, really, we go to the US to have fun, maybe, to maybe buy stuff, to buy clothing or whatever. In a changing world, even the buying aspect is not as, it's kind of obsolete. You can really order stuff these days, so it's not as critical. But those of us who go to enjoy holidays, maybe it's an opportunity to explore the countries. St. Lucia, St. Vincent, Grenada, Barbados. We have always spoken about regional tourism. Maybe it's an opportunity for others in the Caribbean to come visit us as well. So in addition to what Lennon said, here you go. Maybe there are opportunities out of that. How did you put it, Lennon? Every disappointment is a blessing, or anyway. But we could make opportunities out of it. The bigger issue to me is more of a long-term issue, and it looks like this will blow over. Long-term in the sense that we have always gone to the US, and two big benefits out of that, at least one big benefit and a potential benefit, is of course the remittances that we get. So that will not be immediately affected because Dominicans who are already there will still be there, would still most likely support their families. And if it blows over in 3 years, then we're good. But if it continues, if this happens to continue beyond the Trump administration, then it means the pool of people that we train, we send to the US to train, and some stay, and we lose that. And that's an important thing that we could potentially use. I don't think we have used it sufficiently yet, but we have so many Dominicans who have been trained and who are living in the US and who are picking up valuable experiences, and which can become, if it's well managed, a source for our diversification, or a source for our growth, for skills. We haven't really, as a country, really gotten to a point where we use those skills in the diaspora for national development. We really have, other than the remittances, we haven't really got, and of course, some people come down and invest, and that's great. But we need to do more of that. So to the extent that that is blocked off, it means our future ability to generate trained people will be affected. So that would be more my concern. But as Lennon said, chances are this is a short-term thing, and it would blow over. So just to move a little bit across to what I am doing. So we have opened, what we call right now a boutique resort. The ultimate plan is to have 50 rooms, but we wanted to start, and we started with 5 rooms. We started with 5 rooms. It's really beautiful. Everybody should come and see it. But the purpose of doing it is really part of the, or rather I should say, part of the purpose of doing it is ready to demonstrate what we can do, that we don't necessarily need to have corrupt CBI's monies to do things, that there could be different ways of doing things. There could be ways in which we could cooperate and work with each other and work with families, pool investments and pool efforts together. And I mean, I will be sharing as we go along, not today, I don't necessarily mean today, of some of what we have done. And I hope people can follow along with us, because it is meant to be a demonstration project. Of course, I want it to be profitable and I want it to be sustainable. That's the only way people are going to follow you. but we want to be able to encourage people to be entrepreneurial. We want to encourage people to develop a dream culture and a commonwealth culture. And I can explain what I mean by those things a little later. But clearly, we have quite a resource in Dominica. Our natural environment is very beautiful, very pristine. That's why we should continue to fight to preserve it. We have a great resource, and for development, that's one of the things we should do. Tourism and agriculture has to be two of the things on which we build our economy. These are not the only things. There are other things. There's manufacturing, and there's a whole set of things we could go into, and hopefully some of that will come up. But clearly, we have a great resource, and we need the right product. So we believe that we have created a product that is fit for Dominica. Luxurious, or what we call barefoot luxury. Very, very nice, fitting with the environment, very beautiful, very relaxing. You feel like you're in a luxurious situation, but you can touch it, you can sit on it. You're not afraid. So I encourage everybody to come down and visit and come enjoy it with us. But more than that, I really wanted to inspire people, and I really want to use all the lessons from this to help others and to work with others. I mean, we as a people ought not only to be employees, and there's nothing wrong in being a great employee. And as an employee, you can be entrepreneurial as well. You could contribute, you could be innovative even as an employee in the workspace. And there are different ways in which we need to encourage entrepreneurship or innovation even among our employees. But development for us has to include our people owning things and not just being workers. And as I said, there's nothing wrong with being a worker, and not all of us can be owners. But we have to create the right space, the right strategies for people to become owners. And Dominica, our farmers, there are great opportunities for doing what I am doing, agro-ecotourism. So that's where I am right now. I'm managing this, I'm operating this, and hope it will be a great success. But more than that, hope it can serve as an inspiration and as a springboard to bring others on board and to bring greater prosperity to our people.
Yeah, and I made a note, thank you for that, Kent, and I made a note, agro-ecotourism. So I like the marriages that you are putting forward, and I certainly see how Petra over here can play a significant role. I've just been connecting Petra to all other organizations in Dominica, especially the Dominica Livestock Cooperative. So we're building these strategic alliances among what folks are already doing on the ground in Dominica with the Dominica Livestock Cooperative, and they're doing a fantastic job. So maybe we can add you as well to that alliance, Kent, because I see the vision of what you're aiming to accomplish with your ecotourism spot, your resort. So Petra, let me come over to you. First, I want to ask you of any updates you have, because we know that you're passionate about agriculture, and you're not just passionate about agriculture in Dominica, but taking the produce out of Dominica and exporting it to St. Croix and across the region. I think you go as far as the US, because if I remember well, you've made some connections up here in the US, and I won't take any credit, but let's just say Q95 is an international radio station. So we've been able to use this platform for good and for the benefit of Dominicans at home and abroad. So give us an update, Petra, what you've been up to and how is everything going for you?
Okay. Well, everything is going okay in the terms of the St. Croix Dominica trade, agricultural trade. However, I did ship some stuff up to some people to the US through St. Croix, but right now we are working to try to get air cargo directly from Florida to Dominica. I spoke with Amerijet, but Amerijet said that for some reason they will not be able to come to Dominica anytime in the near future due to some updates they asked for from the government that was not done. So then they had to leave. So we're working with somebody else who has an a large plane, a large aircraft like Amerijet, and we're in the process of putting things together so that we could have facilitate that trade between the US and direct to Dominica. So that will be coming soon. We're in the starting phase of it. I will have a poster out tomorrow just to give an idea of the pricing. Our pricing will be at $10 per pound for pounds for any cargo over 20 pounds. And we are trying to have it done weekly because we know for a fact that we have small business owners who are doing this stuff separately, but we want to come together and bring that unity because as I tell people, we need the problem with us, even if we have the ban, the US ban, because we're not working collectively and we don't like to collaborate, we are going to suffer because everybody wants to do things on their own space in their own time. But in the world of business, collaboration is the key. It gives cheaper, it makes it cheaper for trade, your profit margin increase. And so we have to come together to work with each other, with the diaspora and Dominica, because even if you cannot travel, does not mean your goods cannot get to you. It requires a lot of trust because, trust is a scarce commodity and sometimes people afraid to send their monies to other people and will not get the goods, or if they do get it, it's not of the standard that they want. So it's both ways. So this gave us an opportunity, as Mr. Matthew say, to open do new things, and it does not make us go back, but I feel that it will make us move forward because now we have to be more innovative, to think of different ways to bring in that revenue, even if we cannot go out and get it. So I just do my best and play my part to make sure that we can still enjoy the things and still get our supplies from the US, even if we cannot travel directly to the US because of that temporary ban. And it has short-term effects and long-term effects. And as Mr. Vidal say, if it's short-term, it's okay because it will blow over and then we will start all over again. But if it goes beyond 3 years, then that's where the issue will come in. We need to start thinking as Dominicans in Dominica and Dominican abroad, how can we bridge that gap should that stay more than 5 years? So we need to come up with plans, and one of the plans that we're working on, as I said, is to get that aircraft weekly in Dominica from Florida and to get our produce weekly from Dominica to Florida. So I am speaking with supermarkets in Florida. I am speaking to family members and asking them to try to build little companies that they can sell the produce. We have so much great entrepreneurs in Dominica. For Jody, we have Jody who's doing the year products. And if we work together, we can surely bridge that gap and we can bring in foreign exchange in Dominica. It's just like I say, Q95 is there, Dr. Simon is there, always trying her best to connect us with each other to ensure that there's the gap lessen. And so let us take advantage of what each other is bringing to the table and don't let it be political. I don't have to like who you support. My thing is we bring in more monies, we create more jobs for our local people. Farmers will be happier because now they are not going to feel that they need to rely on the government because now they can make their own, create their own incomes. And then it will encourage young people to become better entrepreneurs. There are some people who are skilled, but they don't know how to market their goods. And so those of us up here that have the skills in the States, we need to connect with the people back home, and so that they can do their part and we can do our part there. And all I do is try to connect it by getting that transportation that we really need in Dominica. So again, Dr. Simon, I want to thank you for always doing your best for us in Dominica, even if you are not living there directly, but your heart is in the right place. And before anything, I just want to say thank you. You're doing a great job.
Thank you so much. And you know, I like the energy on the panel because I like the optimism because I'm an eternal optimist. Because I think sometimes we spend so much time and energy looking at the problems that we do not spend enough time and energy focusing on the solutions. And so everyone this evening has already come up with solutions and ways of changing our thought process to look at the opportunities rather than the challenges that we are facing. And so I'm very happy to hear that. And, you know, I have to say, yes, we've always had an issue with collaboration where there seems to be folks who are not interested in collaborating. But I think we're making the strides in the right direction. You know, I think we're making the strides in the right direction because, again, I always have to go back to Dominica Lifestyle Cooperatives and how they've been able to create that umbrella where they're bringing in, they're open and they're bringing in folks into the fold that can contribute because we know that agriculture is our strongest industry. We have the land, we have the sun, we have the water, and so that is our strong industry. But Petra, when I hear you talk about incorporating our products, like Jody's products, it seems like it's opening an entire new market of opportunities for other vendors in Dominica to be able to take those products beyond Dominica. So Lennon, Kent, your thoughts so far?
Yeah, right. Petra, thank you so much for what you're doing. Because that's the kind of things that we need to do. And what you're doing is not easy. I'm pretty sure about that. But we do need some people who will go beyond the simple and the easy and to go into things like that. So, for instance, we were about a year ago, I kind of put a brakes on it a little bit until I can get back to it, but I'm glad you're doing it. We was working with someone more than a year actually, looking into the Barbados market in terms of seeing how we could get some produce here because we need to get our produce out. And one of the things we learned, or one of the things that came back, my contact there said, look, the supermarkets are very willing to take your products, but they won't give you a contract. And I understood why. And I understood why because why would if a supermarket is not confident about you, they don't know you yet. You have not yet built a track record of providing consistently good quality on time. If you haven't built that track record and they want some pineapples or some bananas and they make a contract with you and you cannot bring it in, then they are on the bad end of it. So they would leave the door open. So if you don't come in, they don't have a contract with you, they can take from somebody else, and it's just a smart decision. But I realized that if you were to consistently supply to them and build that track record, a point would be reached where they would say, okay, guy, we have seen you, we've seen what you could do, we are willing to do a contract. But to do that, and that's why I'm saying what you're doing is not easy. To do that, you have to have the financing to back it. You have to be able to tell farmers, produce for me and I'll pay you. And somebody gonna take that risk. If I pay you and I don't sell to the supermarket, then that's a risk I'm taking. Somebody has to do that calculation. Somebody has to take that risk and determine, is it a reasonable risk? So that's what I'm saying, it's not easy. It's easy to go buy a car, do a dealership, and sell it back, to Dominicans. It's easy to go and do a supermarket. Everybody wants food, right? But the kinds of things that affect our farmers are the kinds of things like what you do. Our hucksters play a very, very important role. But our hucksters are not very well organized. Nobody goes in there and help them to work on having sufficient storage in the market and having sufficient contact with supermarkets and having sufficient working capital and those kinds of things. That's what we need to do. And it's not very often we see a private person like yourself take up that challenge and that opportunity. And that's why I congratulate you. I looked into it because that's part of what I wanted to do as part of the effort to show that better can be done. But when I see individuals like you doing it, my heart is very glad. I'm very happy to do it. That's why I said at the beginning, we've got to talk. Because What we need to do is find more people like that have a heart for our people, a heart for Dominic, and willing to do the thing that's a little more difficult. Now, just because it's more difficult doesn't mean it's not sustainable, because if it's done smartly and properly, it could generate profits, and it could generate good profits too, because nobody wants to be in business without being able to, sustain it. That's not why people go into business. But many people do not want to take the very tough role, or the hard risk and return, and don't want to combine it with a passion for our people. So that's what you're doing. I guess you're combining the passion for Dominican to help Dominicans with something which can work, but it's not easy. But if you do the right set of things, then it can definitely be rich. So we need to talk. More of us need to do that. And just congratulations again. I'll give over to Lennon. I'm sure Lennon has much more to add.
Yeah, I think Lennon dropped for a minute.
Oh.
So, the technology, and as the devil is a liar, we're going to continue with the program until Lennon comes back in. But that brings the question, guys, of the role of the government, because yes, we have to look internally and do the work ourselves, but we cannot, remove the government's responsibility in terms of the same markets that we are looking at. And I almost feel like with this US ban, of course, which is going to impact the CBI program, that now is the time to, again, as we talked about, look into other opportunities. But what is the plan from the government? I haven't really heard anything in terms of, what is the contingency plan as we see the CBI program in Dominica being under increasing threat. So Petra, let me ask you directly, are you currently working with the Ministry of Agriculture in any form, any fashion in terms of supporting the work that you're doing?
No.
Have you reached out to them?
No, not really. I have not reached out to anybody. Because my thing is, when I do my stuff, with the current political atmosphere in Dominica, I feel to myself that I will get too much feedback. Like I will be held back if I go through them. So I rather go out, do it myself, and when it reaches to a stage where I feel more comfortable that I have already made that connection and the connection is clear, then I can say, okay, I want to move forward to phase 2. Are you willing to step into phase 2? But phase 1, I want to take it up on my own, because my thing is for the people. I want to make sure that when I leave, that my contribution can help some other family to become financially stable, and that they are not dependent on somebody else, but they have the independence, the financial independence. And you may not know, but I love finance as well. My major is in accounting. I'm an auditor by profession, but I love finance. And I made it my duty 10 years ago. I have been studying what makes people of different color succeed and build wealth that we cannot do it. And one of the things, and I will keep saying it, I got through studying them, is that collaboration is key. When one wealthy person has everything in order and another wealthy person joins, they directly give you all their contacts. Immediately they can trust you. They give you their contacts. So their lawyer become your lawyer, their accountant become your accountant, their banker become your banker. They do that high level of collaboration. And so everybody keeps a job, everybody get parts of the pie. But that is one of the things Black people, our people, don't like to do. We always want to move forward, but we have a way wanting to step on somebody else to move forward. We always want to keep somebody back in order that we move forward, not realizing that in doing that, we are not achieving anything.
But why is that the case, Petra? That is the question that always bugs my mind. That's always plaguing my mind. Why is it that we see other cultures using that leverage to build the entirety of their community? Why are we different? Why do we see in the Black community that And it's a reality because I know from personal experience that there are many people, they want you to be successful as long as you're not as successful as them. Right? So they're never going to be completely transparent with you. They're not going to tell you who their accountant is. They're not going to tell you the scholarships that their children applied for and were successfully. So what is it? And I need to speak to Dr. Wallace. Where's Dr. Margaret Wallace when I need her? Because what is it? Is it because of the slave mentality where we had such limited resources? Is that something that has been handed down to us from generation to generation? And how do we combat that? Because again, if we don't get past that obstacle, then we are doomed to never succeed as a race. And that is truly very sad. So continue your thought. I think Lennon keeps dropping off. So let's keep adding to the conversation. Lennon, yes, you keep dropping off. I'm not sure if your internet is unstable.
No, yeah. So I got two devices. So I'm probably going to be off video for a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah, but if you can hear me, then that's
yes,
perfect.
That's fine. Go ahead, make your contribution.
Yeah. So I kind of missed a little bit of what you guys were saying, but like I said in my opening comments, I think a lot of times when we have these conversations about development, business, togetherness, and the last I heard you talk about is our old slave mentality. I think what get lost, and I got so much a greater appreciation for history because I realize our past is connected to where we are right now. And for us to really chart a path forward, we have to examine where we come from, why we are where we are, what we do in all these things. So when we talk about economics, when we talk about trade, when we talk about markets, Petra is talking and what she's doing is nothing new. We had a big huckster business, and the Huckster Association at one point was critical in moving goods from Dominica to the rest of the Caribbean, and it just didn't move from where it was to a more market savvy, technologically savvy operation. The Hucksters serve as the what you call the how you call it again? Oh God, I'm I can't forget. But moving the goods from one place to the other, the logistics of all that stuff. That's what they did, and I think when we examine why we're having these conversations and looking forward to Dominica, we have to remember what our societies were in the past. We were governed by kings and queens. The resources of the state was used for the kings and queens as they pleased, and out of that revolution came the systems of government we have right now in determining how resources are shared, right? So the markets, products have a lot to do with the population. So now when we talk about American markets, when we talk about goods and services, we're really talking about the people with availability of disposable income to be able to buy those goods and services, to exchange those goods and services for something of value. So, getting a plane from Florida to the Caribbean to collect produce. I'm sitting there, I'm listening to Petra, and I'm asking, did we ever take stock of our resources in the Caribbean, our food resources? And I'm going to explain a little bit. Let me try to condense it for you. But in geology, when you are looking at natural resources, for example, oil or minerals, you do what you call economic feasibility study. Basically, you look at the amount of minerals you have there, whether it's mineable, whether mining it will result in a profit. And then for oil, you have what they call proved reserves, probable reserve, and possible reserves. What that tells you is the amount of resources that there. So nobody's going to invest in a business or in the oil or gas or mineral industry if they don't have the ability to make a profit. So what they will do, they'll take stock of what kind of minerals you have, the amount of minerals you have. Is the current technology to mine or extract those minerals going to be profitable, and what is the market value of these minerals? So you can't do any of that work without doing an economic feasibility study. And I'm saying, why can't we do the same thing for our agriculture industry? Where are the documented records of the acreage of bananas that's planted, the acreage of dashing that's planted, the heads of 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 chicken we have, the amount of goats we have. Where's the data that tells you what is the value of your agricultural produce, how much money we put in it? I'm going to give you two examples, not even going to the United States. When we talk about business, what drives business is consumption. The consumption of these goods and services creates a need. And in basic business, the first two things you learn about is supply and demand. So I think of Dominica and I say, what are the two things that drive consumption in Dominica? One is Carnival, one is Creole Festival. A lot of people come to Dominica on that time. What happens in Dominica? There is parties. So there's need for beer, there's need for barbecue chicken, there's need for steamed fish. And I'm saying we have an abattoir. Are they coordinating the growth of chicken to coincide with when there is Creole Festival, when there is Carnival, the highest consumption so that your chickens are ready for slaughter? So most of your grocery stores, your shops, your everything is purchasing chicken from that resource that causes money to be generated and circulates to the country. Are we thinking of these things? So while Petra is making her plans to get a plane in Dominica, one of the things she can use to convince them is say, hey, I have data that shows Dominica has, at least for the next 6 months, we're going to have $300 million worth of agricultural output. Here's what we need in St. Croix. We need juice, we need coffee, we need these things. Somebody on that plane is going to say, damn, they have all that produce. That's money they're going to make. I don't think we've reached to that point, and that is part of the problem. Let me just share some information with you that I dug up. I'm just going to look at a few crops in Dominica. Coffee, the global coffee market, $185.6 billion in 2026, with an expected growth of $238 billion by 2031. $100 million of that market share only represents 0.05 of the global value. Why can't Dominica do this? Coconut, 2022, global market, 20.24 billion. 2030 expected to reach 38.58 billion. Dominica is a tropical country along with other Caribbean countries. Why can't we get at least a 0.1% market share of that stuff? You see why I'm going to that? I'm Dr. Simone. Let's look at a product. Avocado, 2023, global value 15.83 billion. 2026 expected to be 18.5 billion. And one more product I'm going to look at, cocoa. The cocoa market in 2035 is expected to be $26.2 billion. You know why I mentioned these crops? These are all crops we grow in the Caribbean. These are all crops that grow in Dominica. So just these three crops, just imagine a 0.05% of the share of the market is $120 million. So just imagine if these crops we can do agro-processing and provide Kent with coffee from Dominica, coconut water from Dominica, coconut oil from Dominica, coconut, and that's just Kent. And we can provide byproducts from avocado. Avocado oil is one of the biggest things right now. We don't do that. So there is so much potential for economic development, but we are narrow-minded. There's no data, there's no record. We don't know what is the economic value of what we have in Dominica. We say we value it, but nobody have appraised it. And you can't do any business without having a value. I can't go drill oil. I can't go look for minerals if I don't tell the investor, this is the proven reserves that we have. It's worth 300 and something billion dollars. I'm going to give you a real life example of where that is. In Guyana, they found oil. For them to drill that oil and for investors to come in, they had to make sure that they did a geo study of that reserve and find out what is the value of that oil. We can use that idea, put it to Dominica, put a stock of all the value of goods and services, agricultural produce and agricultural output we have, and use that data to sell to American airline, to the cargo plane, why you should come to Dominica, because there's money to be made. And I think these are the kind of things we need to start thinking of, how we increase the domestic consumption, how we align our domestic production and consumption with the events like Carnival, Creole Music Festival, and how we include the people of Dominica, because without the people, none of this matters. And then the last thing I want to mention, and we cannot not talk about the gross domestic product per capita. What that really means is the people of the country have to be an active part in the production, in the output of any revenue. That is whether it's through agriculture, whether it's through fishing, whether it's through music, whether it's through hotel industry, whether it's through the energy industry. We have to take a stock of that, because without doing these things, Simon, really and truly, we have been flying blind for 25 plus years, because the things that we should do to ensure that we have a starting point, we put things in place, have a goal, and we reassess to see where we're going. We are just going to be spinning in circles and wondering, why are we not developing with such bright, talented people and so much natural resources?
Yeah, very well said, Lennon. Thank you for that. I want to come to Kent, but before we do, let me just acknowledge everyone who's joining us on Facebook and YouTube. Greg Baptist, good evening to you. Amma Thomas, always great to have you on board. And Jadith Frazier, nice to have you here as well. Kent, your thoughts. And then while you're on the mic, Kent, I also wanted you as an economist to comment to us and tell us your thoughts on the fact that there's such a high dependency on the CBI program. I think we see something like 59% of Dominica's economy is dependent on the CBI program. And now that we're seeing the threats to that program, what are your thoughts? What is your analysis in terms of everything that is going on with the CBI program? But just your general thoughts and that question as well.
Okay, you could remind me at the end about that point, but I wanted to talk, just touch a little bit on what Lennon just said, but there are two important points that Petra made that I want to touch on as well. But Lennon, I get you and I understand, but earlier on we were saying that development is not easy. I was saying that, and I was saying to Petra, what she's choosing to do is not easy either. And sometimes the data is not there. At least in terms of the produce. And not only just the data, even if the data is there sometimes, the produce is not there to even justify a plane load or a container, you see? Because why? Nobody's going to produce plantains if they don't have a market. Nobody's going to produce pineapples if they don't have a market. So sometimes it's a fine play between a number of factors you're managing at the same time. It's a bit of an art, an entrepreneurial art, if you want to call it that. I'm sure Petra will agree. You have to determine, okay, we maybe don't have a container load of pineapples, but we certainly have sufficient land to do it, and farmers will be willing to do it on the right conditions and capital to pay them and so on. You have to kind of navigate that as an entrepreneur, and I'm pretty sure Petra seemed to be, so I've understood this well, and I'm pretty sure she's navigating that. So again, I know what she's doing is not easy, it's difficult. You have to exercise your mind, but it can be very rewarding. So that's why, again, Petra, we've got to talk some more. But you raised 2 points that I really wanted to flag and to agree with you 100%. When Simon asked you concerning, have you approached the government? And you said not ready, and you gave your reasons. But that's a reality that we face. The reality is that a lot of the things we are talking about here, a good government should be doing. A good government should be helping to organize the farmers and the hucksters and even business people like Petra and others. A good government should be doing that, but our government don't. And when they do, there's the envious part of it. There's the extremely bad political culture. You soon find somebody wants to take your idea, or somebody wants to vote you out, or somebody wants a bribe. That's the reality. So therefore, what people decide, we try to own. So that is part of the reason why I personally am trying to get in touch with people, and integrity has to be at the base of it. People that we can decide, in spite of the kind of governance we have, that we have to come together and work together to get this done, in spite of the kind of government we have and our reluctance to go to the government. I mean, it might sound like a political thing I'm saying, but it's not. It's the reality. So I understand why she has said that. Now, the truth is, I don't know what caused what we call the envy of corruption in Dominica, but the culture of envy. The truth is, we have many bad cultures that a good government, again, helps to overcome. We have a culture of corruption, but we definitely have a bad political culture and a very envious culture. It's unfortunate. I don't know where it came from, but we've got to try to overcome it. Now, part of overcoming it is beginning to demonstrate that better can be done, beginning to show how we can cooperate. When we begin to get some success examples, when we begin to get some good pilot projects, and that's part of what I'm interested in doing. And again, that's why I want to talk to you, Petra, and others. When we begin to demonstrate that we can cooperate, we can do what the Chinese do, we can all bring in a container and reduce our shipping costs and find out who are the best sources and so on. When we begin to understand the value of cooperation, and that's the other thing I wanted to talk about, that it is very powerful. But when we demonstrate it, we begin to open the door for other people to try it. And also, a good government also put institutions in place to help reduce or to help overcome the culture of mistrust. It's really sometimes mistrust as well. So envy and mistrust. We have to so the thing is, we don't have a government who really think through those kinds of things. But on the issue of cooperation, I couldn't agree with you more. You're so right. Cooperation is so extremely important in many areas, whether it's shipping or whether it's purchasing, even accounting and so on. And these are the kinds of things as a people, since we don't have a government that will do it, we've got to come together and do some of those things. And I'm willing to be part of a group that do those things. But I remember I was in one country and doing some strategy for them, development strategy, long-term development strategy. And I was really trying to encourage them that they've got to, we have had investors coming into our countries, investing in tourism and so on. And that's good. We need investors. That's extremely good. But I've said to them, look, I think you have reached the point where now you want to encourage your own people to invest in these hotels and so on. You obviously want your investors to come in still, but you want now to move to a point where your own people are able to invest. And they said to me, well, how do you do that when we don't have a lot of money? I said to them, look, you have big investors coming in, right? They say, yeah. I said, tell me, when they come in, do they come in by themselves? One person? Does the one person come to you and say, look, I am this big investor, I have... A few times it may happen, but most of the time what happens is that it's a consortium, it's a group of them. It's not one of them. It's 20, 30 of them come together, form some kind of company, and all of a sudden they're able to come up with $5 million to build a hotel. It's always never one person. We have to take those kind of lessons in cooperation from the investment point of view. In my own resort, that's what, that's what we're doing. A couple of us have come together and invested together. But there's trust, and there are the right mechanisms to make those kinds of things happen. So cooperation is extremely, extremely important. Again, a good government understands that and puts systems in place and demonstration efforts in place to show the value of cooperation. So it causes people to say, look, if we do this, man, we can do better. Right. Anyway, but that I just wanted to highlight those facts. So now moving to the point of the CBI. I mean, we have warned about that for a long time. Those of you who remember when I led the Freedom Party, in leading up to 2019 elections, I had warned over and over again that we were going to lose the CBI. And it has come to pass, because at that time they were mismanaging it. It was managed very corruptly. The things they were doing, the way in which the CBI was being managed, affected the security interests of other countries, of the US, well, certainly of the Europeans. And we have seen that move towards removing the one thing that our passport needs for it to be marketable, that is visa-free access to Europe. We're on the verge of losing that. Visa-free access generally. Once you lose that, your passport have no power anymore. We have lost it to the UK. Your passport absolutely has no power. So we were always going to lose it because we managed it wrong. But then you couldn't have made passport your most important strategy. I mean, it brought in some revenue, and if you're going to do it well and transparently, I am not necessarily opposed to that. But the thing is, you should have used the revenue to create the kind of base you needed for your country to be sustainable. You should have used the revenue to support our shipping and agriculture and tourism and all these other things that we needed to do, so that by the time, of course, our infrastructure is very important. If you used those monies wisely, you would have put the country to a point where the economy is thriving to the extent that it generates taxes, that even when the CBI is gone, then the economy is strong enough to generate taxes. That wasn't done. And if you manage it carefully, if you managed it properly, you would not have lost it anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And you could have continued investing in the right things to cause the country to go to greater and greater and greater heights. We do agriculture, we do agriculture and tourism, but there's much more we can push into. This program, we will not have enough hours for us to discuss all the areas in which we could go. But clearly, countries like Barbados, for instance, if we go back to Barbados a bit, they have done the tourism well, right? Very well, but they have reached a glass ceiling. For you to break that glass ceiling, you have to get into manufacturing. You have to get into greater value added. A CBI program used well could not only do your infrastructure and pay down your debt and support your farmers and support your tourism, but you could have also begin to put the various funds and things in place to support entrepreneurs, to reach out and find the skills in the diaspora and the kinds of things we could do. For instance, I remember speaking to a group in Trinidad, and they were doing, they were manufacturing batteries, which is good. Trinidad have gone, a bit into manufacturing foods. A lot of it is in the area of agro-processing, foods and so on, but they have also gone into other areas like battery production. I think there's opportunity to go beyond batteries, but even deepen the kinds of products that could be produced by Trinidad, including going into solar batteries. Right now, there's a big demand for solar batteries. So I did mention that to them, but I'm saying that here to say that if we have to break that glass ceiling of being involved in agriculture and tourism and get to a point where we can really move over, like country like Barbados, not Dominica. Dominica, we're still at the very bottom, so we still have a lot of basic work to do. But a country like Barbados, to move from where they are, they really have to get into more value added, using the diaspora more effectively and producing. But a CBI type program, once it has gotten in, provided the opportunity to improve our infrastructure and our agriculture and our tourism, the next phase would be to how to get us to go to that level. But we have missed all of that completely, to the point where we are losing even the very CBI because we didn't even manage it well. Well, I shouldn't say we, it's really one regime in Dominica that did that to all of us. So it's very, very unfortunate that we are here, and they have brought us to a very difficult position. They have brought us to a position where I would say Dominica is on the brink of becoming a failed state. That is, if we're not already there. And what do we mean by a failed state? A state where you're basically on the brink of the economy totally disintegrating, and the government not having proper control of the population of the country, where illegal activities is going to begin to take root, and where even, for instance, see what's happening in our country. It doesn't seem like our government is in control. It looks like the Chinese are more in control than our government, right? That seems to me like a failed state. If we give it some more time, our economy is already imploding. It will explode on us, definitely.
Let me cut in there. But maybe that's a good thing.
Maybe.
Like I said.
But Lennon, I'm making a note of that point because I want to make sure we go over to the studio to invite the callers into the conversation. But can you make a quick note of that point that you were going to make? And then I also want us to come back and talk about, the U.S. threats, talk about geopolitical concerns, the U.S. threats against the Caribbean islands involved in the relationships with China and Cuba, and what are the implications for us as a region. But let's go over to the studio. But before we do, let's just remind everyone that you're listening and viewing Roots Connections on Q. We have with us Mr. Lennon Matthew, Mr. Kent Vital, as well as Miss Petra Carbon George, and we're having a great conversation, very impactful conversation on if not the CBI, then what? With the U.S. visa ban and other travel restrictions, what is the strategic plan for securing the future of Dominica and the Caribbean region? So Lambi, over to you for the phone calls.
The numbers are as follow: 449-3095, 449-3096, 449-3097, 616-4257. Those are local numbers. The overseas or international number comes up now, 305-432-9624. Let me run those again. 449-3095, 449-3096, 449-3097, 616-4257, 305-432-9624. Back to you, Simon.
Yes, thanks. And let me say good evening to those on Facebook and YouTube again. We have Anthony Simon. Anthony, nice to have you on board. Mr. Havis Badui, Badwill, as we say in Dominica. Welcome aboard, Dave Bertrand. So, guys, if you're in the audience, you're listening and you want to be acknowledged for being here with us, simply post a comment to just say where you're listening from, and I'll be happy to acknowledge you as being in the audience. So, Lennon, you were going to say something. Lennon, are you there? Okay, we have a phone call coming in. Lennon, hold on 1 second. We have a phone call coming in. Thank you, Lambi.
Good evening, caller. Thanks for joining us. Go ahead, please.
Good evening, Timo. Good evening, everybody on the panel.
Good evening.
Good evening, Sentusi.
Good evening.
You know, we can say what we want, but our level of agriculture and the way we produce, the way we export, the world has long past that way of exporting our agriculture. For instance, you're taking a bag of dashing to send to Texas, a bag of dashing to anywhere in America. First of all, that is too heavy. You are going to have the turnaround you want from it. We have to develop ways that we can refine those products and have those products can go on every table, every kitchen in America where Americans can use the technique that we can show them how to cook, how to cater the stuff so that they can consume and we can export more. But if we have to continue the way Dominica is going, agriculture will not bring back the kind of money that we want. Secondly, you're talking about the ban. We're not going nowhere. Some of us may say, okay, when Donald Trump come out there, the ban will come out. No, because this man has sold so much passport. I have afraid terrorists have them passport. And every time you think we're going to get our ease up, he's going to come back and give us a backlash. And this man selling so much lies, we don't even know if he's telling America the truth, because up to now we can come out under England. So I am saying we are in serious trouble. Dominicans can hold on, try to do their little agriculture, but the best thing for Dominica is to take out that government in power. And let us start fresh. If you watch between Skerritt and you watch between Dr. Fontaine have a better love, a better feeling to export agriculture, to make it in a real niche market for Dominicans than this guy. This guy has 51,000 for his sale, and yet still he couldn't bring Dominica forward. Not with too little agriculture he will do it. So we need a change of government. I try to support all in everything all you're saying, but unless we have those guys in government, we are going nowhere. God bless Dominica. Thank you.
Yes, valid point, caller. Thank you for your contribution. A very important point that you're raising, because governance does in fact affect all aspects of our life. And I like the point that you raised, because agro-processing is the key. You know, people complain all the time that, Dominicans no longer want to peel, fig, and dashing. But again, the importance of agro-processing and finding creative ways to get our produce out. Let's take another phone call.
Caller, thank you very much for being there. Go ahead, please.
Good night, Lambi. And good night to the panelists and them. I love the program.
Good evening. Thank you.
Simon, I love the program.
Thank you.
I want to tell Mr. Lennon, I do not know you, but I just love your voice, the way you speak. I love to hear Gabriel Christian, and I love to hear the others, but these two really appeal to me. But why that hurts me a lot is when you go in town to see the amount of produce in the market all around and no sale. And it is there, it is, and still the people telling everything you have to buy is $5. You must have a $5 to remove what you have to buy what you have to buy. And if they had a boat to have to travel, take meetings and to travel to other countries, there are many places. My daughter is in Anguilla, and sometimes Anguilla have got no plan to make anything. What they have, their little palm trees and this little thing. But if they get things from St. Kitts, I think that is coming in to bring things to sell there. And if you go and buy the produce on them, it's very expensive. So you have the little places that cannot even well grow anything, and we have to see all the Haitians and them planting things and doing so many things, and the things are just there. They are just there. The Dominicans are planting; they are just there. So what we need to do is time for them to get a boat, and let people carry the things, go to St. Martin, to Anguilla, to various places that need those things there. So anyway, I'm still listening, but what I want to say, hope thou in the Lord. There is always hope. If the oil is not gone, God will make a way where there seems to be no way. Thank you very much.
Yes, absolutely. Hope, 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 and faith in the Lord. Thank you so much, Carla, for your contribution, for your wonderful thoughts on the topic. So, Lennon, let's come back to you. I think you were trying to make a couple of points.
Yeah, so let me make a couple of points. So, Simon, our topic here is sustainable. You talk about sustainable development.
Mm-hmm.
For you to sustain everything, for you to sustain the rivers in Dominica, you need constant rainfall. You need a system to store that water, which is our mountains, our trees. And what sustains the river to flow even when rain doesn't fall is because of the dynamics of that rain seeping through the soil, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to bring it down so that the common man can understand this concept. So, Petra, if you have a system of getting products to St. Croix and the US, for that to be sustainable, you have to know you have to have stock of your resources. There's no two ways about it. And that's why I brought up the example of the mining industry. Guyana cannot project $24 billion in revenue a year on oil if they do not know the extent of their oil resources. So for something to be sustainable, it means that you have a supply that keeps the business going. And to effectively do that, you have to understand what the capacity of your source is, whether it's your farming, how many acres. And I know Ken said that's not readily available, but you can't sustain your business if you do not have that information. And I get it, because it's not because Dominica does not have the capacity to do it. It's because our government system is so broken. The basic things they are supposed to do to let a country run is not there. So we don't really need the government to give us these opportunities. But if they had done their work, the Ministry of Agriculture, the Ministry of Environment, if there's different departments that are creatures of the Constitution or the Parliament, they're there for reasons. They're there for a reason to put systems in place so the private sectors can develop. So she doesn't have to go to a farmer and say how many crops. She can go to the statistics division if the statistics division was taking their information based on what the agricultural division gave them. Then she could have said, okay, well, there are 500 acres of passion fruit or X amount of acres of whatever the case may be. I know we're going to make money because here is what we have. Doing that forecast, that's business. That's how you sustain a business. And Kent, you know where I stand. Everybody knows where I stand. If you had to ask me and we had to be revolutionary, I said the government needs to go, but here's the deal. What if probably what we really need as a people is to have an economic crash? Because unless the economic crashes, people won't get up. And I think what pain gets people to react. And I think when you ask Simone, the travel ban, and what did I say? I said, well, the travel ban happened. We have to find alternatives. When the economic crash because passport doesn't work, then what it will fuel is for us to use our creative brains, which we have, to find ways to build an economy. I'm going to give you a simple case. The caller a while ago, and I totally agree with him. The way we used to do, I think we still have the plantation mentality. And agriculture, by the way, is when I taught geography in high school in PSS back in the days, we talk about primary industry, secondary, tertiary industry. We did these things for a reason. I think sometimes we get so much education, we make them complicated. But if we go back to the basics, agriculture is a primary industry. What that means is you plant crops, you rip crops, and you take them and you ship them elsewhere. the number one thing that human beings need to survive, which is the basics we need to survive, is food, clothing, and shelter, nothing else. If we don't have this free, we're dead. Part of what drives us is our need to survive. So we need food. In the US, you go to the grocery store, you see milk, egg, meat, cheese, macaroni and cheese, rice. You know where all these things come from? These things come from the farm. So majority of the stuff you see in the store is for human consumption, for our own survival. Then in the corn industry, when they harvest their material, they look at the market prices. They have huge silos in the place. These silos are used to store the corn, store the grain. So when the prices are right, the farmers can sell them and get maximum profit. That's one-on-one agriculture. In the Caribbean, what we have done historically, that's why we go back. We came from an oil plantation system, right? And that plantation system was geared at producing crops and selling to Europe and industrial nations. We still continue doing that, not realizing we have to move from the primary industry to the secondary industry where we add value. And I'll tell you how that matters. Take, for example, avocado. You cannot eat 100 avocados in a day. Avocado is a crop. If you plant it and it bears, one avocado tree does not bear 10 or 20 avocados. It bears hundreds of avocados. But you can't eat enough avocados to consume the amount of avocados that an acre or 200 acres of avocado bears, right? So if you still depending on your old system of picking avocados and selling to the market, that might work. That's a percentage of the use of avocados. What we could do is to get into avocado oils, get into the raw material value added. And what that does for the agricultural industry, it gives the farmer two streams of revenue, one from the sale of raw materials and one from the sale of raw materials to the processing plant that does avocado oil. The creation of avocado oil requires that you have a large supply of avocados. So now instead of planting an acre, because the farmer knows my avocados are wasting because all I'm looking for is for somebody to buy them to sell in Guadeloupe and St. Martin. My trees are producing too much. He knows I can plant 2 or 3 more acres because now we have avocado oil processing in Dominica, which needs a lot more avocados. So what that's going to do, that's going to cause a demand, right? And if it causes a demand, we have to satisfy that demand by increasing our supply. So now I can tell the farmer, hey, you know what? In addition to shipping to St. Croix, in addition to shipping to the US, we need 300 million tons, and I'm just putting out a number there, don't quote me on that, for making avocado oil, which has a separate niche market. That way you increase the farmer's production, and instead of having avocados wasted, he has another option for his avocados. I'm just using avocados as an example. You can take that for pineapples, you can take that for other things. And I think what we have not done is to be able to add value to those goods. But here's the issue. In any society, you need to have a value system. Ken Vidal, how you develop trust is having a value system that doesn't start from the government. It starts sadly from the homes. A community is made out of families. A society is made out of communities. If your family structure is broken, if there's no value, there's no discipline in your family, it's hard to get that in your society. And I think part of Dominica's issue, our DNA, our fabric, our building blocks, which is the family, have been broken. There's no discipline. You don't know who is parents and child. We have all these countercultures, the nasty business, the drinking of alcohol, the ill discipline of our society. While we have $1 billion infrastructure, which is supposed to inject fuel into our economy in the name of an international airport, young men are sitting down on the block, smoking marijuana, drinking rum and killing one another when they could be productive citizens. So if you don't have structure that is based on value, trust is going to be lost. You can't trust anybody to do anything. If your value system is not built on hard work, which requires your people to be productive. That's why they talk about GDP per capita. It means how much output that your people can develop. I'm going to give you a perfect example. China has 1.4 billion people. Their GDP per capita is about $13,000 per person. Dominica is about 10. So Dominica's GDP per capita and China's GDP per capita is not that different. However, China is the second largest economy in the world. So I ask myself, how can 400 million people generate so much wealth? It's because Americans are working. You go, I live up here. You go to the restaurants, you go to the grocery stores. You go to, I mean, a guy becomes a millionaire cutting grass. He's got a landscaping business. And that's because the free market system has built the consumption and has valued the people of that country. So if you as a government are developing an economic system or developing a sustainable economy and you're not factoring the contribution of your people, the most important resources in your development, you're going to fail. So
Yeah.
I'm sorry, let me wrap this up.
Yes.
The passport is, I can have a printer and some paper and build passport and sell. It does not take anything from our raw materials. It doesn't add any value. It doesn't create jobs for marketing, for packaging, for transporting. And that's the whole problem. So we have a twisted mentality, a selfish attitude, and a value system that does not promote development. And unless we change these things, we will not see the true development that we need.
Yes, thank you, Lennon, so much. All valid points. I want to come over to Petra, and I think there's a photo you sent me, Petra. I'm going to share it on the screen so you can tell us a little bit more about it. But the other topic I want to ensure that we cover this evening is, those partnerships and those strategic alliances that we have with Cuba and China that are now under attack by the U.S. government. So the question I have once Petra is finished with her presentation is, should we be concerned? Should we be concerned that the U.S. is now not looking favorably upon those relationships with Cuba, the relationships with China, and where do we go from there? What are the implications of the fact that the U.S. is not looking favorably? Should we care? Should we not care? Should we say, well, the U.S. doesn't support us financially, so like we say in Dominica, excuse my French, chupul, right? So we have to look at that because those are serious questions with real world implications. But Petra, I'm going to try to share the photo that you sent. So give me 1 second. But while I do so, Petra, can you just tell us in terms of the number of farmers that you're currently supporting with the work that you're doing? Because I know that you continue to grow, you continue to expand. And I want to kind of piggyback on what our first caller said, the need for agro-processing, the need for value added to our produce. So is that something that you are considering as well, Petra, while you continue to create wonderful markets for our farmers in Dominica? Are you thinking along the lines of agro-processing as well?
Okay, to answer your question, yes. And to just give you a little of what we did, my contribution last year to Dominica farmers. So last year, when I went through all my expenses for produce that I purchased in Dominica, I spent more than $250,000.
Wow. Repeat that.
From Dominica. I spent more than $250,000, like more than $250,000 EC, buying cargo from Dominica. That's just paying the farmers for their goods. That it does not include the transportation of the goods. It does not include the agents down there that get paid or anything like that. And so I'm just saying, just me alone doing it by myself, I have 2 consistent farmers that I buy stuff from, and then they source it from other farmers, because I don't have the ability to pay each farmer because I'm not on island, and every transaction is additional money. So one person does that for me. They collect from the farmers and they package everything.
No, that is the expense. Do you have any information on profits? Because that seems like a tremendous amount of expense. I hope there was some profits.
Oh yes, there was some. There is some profit. There is definitely profit. I will tell somebody that since I started this, last year was my profitable year, because my first year I went into it. There were different challenges. There were, you go into something, you're not really knowledgeable about it, so you make mistakes, and then you correct your mistakes. You don't just dwell on it, you learn from it. you do things differently. You, like Lennon say, you do the data. And yes, one of the problems I could have done more if there was a consistent production in Dominica. So for example, this shipment, I could not bring up cucumbers and peppers because Dominica does not have enough cucumbers and peppers to give to the hucksters and the other people that usually buy from them for Saint Martin, for Antigua. So this trip, only thing that I could get was dashing. So back to what Lennon said, yes, it's true that we're trying to do what we're trying to do, but we still need the help of the farmers as well. And the farmers, one thing I will tell people about the farmers in Dominica that I learned, trust is very scarce in that business with farmers. Farmers will tell you they have the agricultural produce, and then if somebody come to get it and they give them, they tell the person, no, I have it for that person, and the person say, well, I'll give you 25 cents more. They will sell it. So it's very risky, it's very high risk because we don't have a corporation. You see, when you have a structured corporation, it's different.
Yep.
Because just how with the livestock is, if you're a member of it, then you get that incentive, you get discount, so I'm just saying that to say, if we have good governance, there would be policies in place so that these things don't happen. Like, for example, Dexia. I tried Dexia last year, but you still cannot rely on Dexia because Dexia does not own really anything. They still go to the same farmers that you go by yourself to. And then they put their markup price on it and they sell it to you. You would get it from the farmers at a different cost. So there is a lot more to it. And I think we just need a corporation. We need farmers to work as one unit, have one pricing, because sometimes I feel the farmers, they change their price every week. Like, I cannot change my price to the supermarket every month. I have to give the supermarket a price and work through it for all the year. Maybe twice, maybe in the second year I can increase because of everything else is happening. But then when you increase your price, they just say, oh, well, we cannot afford it because how are we going to sell it to the customers? So even the farmers have to understand, just because I'm shipping it to St. Croix does not mean it's $1 million that's out there in St. Croix. So my thing is poor education. We are not educated financially about anything financial in Dominica. We teach basic things like maths and English, which is good. But I feel financial literacy, economics should be a base in high school, entrepreneurship, because people don't know how to price goods. They go by their heads. You ask them how they reach at that price. But that's what everybody else selling it. They have no idea the inputs, how much it costs them. They have no idea the profit margin, nothing like that, because we have not educated our people to that level. And that is a fail on the government, because even if I want to do it, I cannot do everything. I'm not Superman, but I can put myself in a position so that I can. That's why I told people I am going into government, not because I want to look pretty on the poster, but because if you want change, you have to be in the top. You cannot change anything from the bottom, because there is policies that need to pass from the top to get people like me who have that similar idea to profitability or to scale. For example, Mr. Vital have the eco lodges. How do we promote Dominica? How do we promote Dominica that tourists can get to his location? Do we bring him in the tourism sector and say, do we advertise for you at minimal cost so you don't have to do it yourself? So that the people, because we are the government, the people can be aware of the different natural resources that we have in Dominica. How do we do it? We need to educate our people on these things. And until our people don't change their mindsets, sadly, we are going to remain in that same rat race, trying to step on somebody else to reach somewhere, because that is a mentality. I'm not sure, like he said, maybe slavery mentality, because I love history. So I read history and I understand why people act that way. But I'm saying history is also there to improve your future. You could read history and say, I don't want to make that mistake and become a better person. You don't necessarily have to read history and remain in the same situation. So it's just a thing of mindset and working. Like I say, collaboration is one of the keys. If we don't learn to collaborate with each other, we'll stay in that cycle forever in Dominica. And for example, when I came to St. Croix, to the US, and I watched the system, I realized that we can capitalize on that system and use it in Dominica. For example, we have so much young people in Dominica under the NEP program, cleaning, cutting trees, cleaning, which is good. I don't have a problem with the cleaning. But what I'm saying, if we have a progressive mindset, instead of have the people working for NEP, we train the people to become entrepreneurs. So now they own landscaping companies. So the government would pay the landscaping company to deal with that, and the landscaping company will employ workers in the community. So that burden of having to pay everybody 50 people from one village, that comes out from the government, because now they only have to make one check for that landscaping thing. And then it improves our, what I say, when you go to the market, so you could say, okay, I don't want that produce because that person have it cheaper. So negotiation. So let's say Capuchin has 3 landscaping companies and they put in a bid to clean the roadside from Capuchin to Cottage. The government will go with the one that giving the best price for the same value. If you understand what I'm saying. So that person becomes an entrepreneur. They get to employ people. And not only that, because they are a registered company, then they can benefit from tax deduction. So they don't have to be reliant on the government. And they can also clean other people's yard with having a company. So they could clean the villagers' yard in Capuchin because now they're a company. So when I came to St. Croix and I understand this, I said there are so much we could take, positive things that we could take from the system and go implement in our country to make it better. And that is why I came with all these points, because of what we have. First of all, as you see the flyer there, it's a better nature. We can do better. We boast about our waterfalls and everything, which is great. But most of the times when the tourists have to get there, the trails are not cleaned properly. The trails, you cannot walk the trail properly. There's no like proper stepping and all that. If you want to promote Dominica, you have to do better at getting the people there. That's all I'm trying to say. So let us better Dominica. Let us promote our sites, but let us build better hiking trails for the people.
So let in the interest of time, Petra, let's touch on maybe 2 others, because I really want to make sure before the time runs out, we explore that question about the relationship with the US. So just for the interest of time, maybe 2 other salient points you would like to make?
Yeah, definitely. So for example, again, small energy like solar panels. We know electricity is very high in Dominica, but we don't have the resources. Like we don't have no oil or natural resources to bring down the cost. We must buy from somebody else. However, we can go into solar panels. We can send people to train to learn about solar panels, how it works, have our engineers, have students learning about that in school, so that when the panels need repairs, we have our own persons in Dominica that can deal with it. We don't need somebody sent to ship it to overseas and so forth and so on, to help reduce the cost of energy in Dominica. And also our road and infrastructures. When we're building road in this modern age and time, we have to think outside the box. We have to think for future terms, for bigger vehicles, for heavier vehicles. We have to put drainage and all that, because remember, we're in Dominica, lots of rain and all that. So there are different things we can do. It's just a matter of sitting down and planning and make sure whatever we plan is for the betterment of Dominica, and not just for ourselves, but the betterment of Dominica and those who are going to use our resources when they come to visit us. So that is where I'm going to stop on this. With the CBI program, Simone, and I know you asked about it, with the CBI program, I feel to myself the CBI program, if it was put to better use, like Mr. Vidal and Lennon said, it would be better for us. Because if you have $10 and you invest it wisely, and that $10 can make $15, then even if the source of getting additional $10 goes away, because you know how to multiply that $10, now that you have the $15, you can continue to save. And that starting $10 can multiply and even make $1,000 for you because you know how to manage it properly. So the thing with the CBI monies is that the money came in because it was there on the financial report, but it was not managed properly. And it was not placed in investment that could make money. It went into investment. For example, when you build a road, the road, that's it. You pay somebody and the money is finished. But let's say you are invested in agriculture, which is what I love the most. You give that farmer that 5,000, 10,000 initiative to help him get off the ground. You give him that $10,000 and you train him properly. And you train him in finance, you train him in marketing, you train him in these areas, because as Lennon said, it's not just making the produce. You have to show the farmer, hey, if you have excess plantain, you can make plantain chips. You don't necessarily have to throw the plantain away just because you cannot sell it on the market for people to cook the plantain. There are other ways. Then you can peel the plantain, you can cut it, and you can store it in the freezer. So that persons who don't want to peel plantain can buy it from you at a higher cost. You understand? It's training our people to think outside the box. So, like Lennon said, it's just a matter of this we have to do, Simon. It's just training our people, let our people become more creative in using the resources. And I think if we go down that path, in the next 5 years, you'll be surprised how many young people who would be successful, because some people want to work. Some people don't have the input, the monies, but they want to do things. They want to be creative, but there is nowhere that they can go to get that support because, like I say, poor governance. So we need better governance, better policies in Dominica, and we need better education in Dominica in things that make sense. Not just maths and science and sports. Yes, this is good, but things that can actually move somebody from one place to the other. And even if you're not there, they can still do it themselves.
Yeah, and let me just say this very quickly, and then Kent, I want to come to you for your thoughts, and so we can address that question. And we all know that they record all the programs on Q95 FM radio, and we've said this time and time again. So I think those, the powers that be, they know the solutions. They know what they ought to be doing. For example, I made a note while we were talking about how picking back on what Ken said, how the CBI should have been invested in income generating opportunities. And immediately the thought of the Nation Island brand came to mind. So if that CBI, all that billions of dollars from the CBI had been invested in a strategic plan simply called the Nature Island brand, where we incorporated everything from agriculture to tourism to agro-processing to health and wellness to sports to manufacturing under that one umbrella and generate the income, then it goes right back to what Kent was saying about generating income and generating taxes. But in my gut, I know that the powers that be knows all of this already. And my thought process is always that poverty is a political strategy, right? Because if I do not develop your talents, if I do not develop your skills, if I don't allow you to create the landscaping company, and I force you to work for NEP by cutting the grass instead of empowering you by helping you create that company, then you are at my beck and call. And you have no choice because you're not independent. You are dependent on me for your bread and butter. Oh, I'm sorry, I got carried away and we have a phone call. But I think we see the picture because they know the answer. They know the information because they've listened to all our programs. And we've been saying this for the 4 years that I've been on the host of this program. So they know the answer. But because dependency is a political strategy, they refuse. And that is why we keep talking about the need for a change of governance. Right? So I'm sorry, Lambi, I didn't see the call was coming in. Go ahead.
Thanks for your patience. Caller, please go ahead.
Lambi, good night, and Miss Simon.
Good evening.
Mr. Leonard
Simon and the lady from St. Croix and the other man, I just can't remember his name now.
Kent Vital.
You touch on all the points, Senior Matthew. And I just wanted to keep pushing. You know, the other thing tell you in the war, the only time the commando listens when his last bullet run out. So I want you to continue. I listen to a program with Mr. Gregoire and a few other people. And I've been listening to the program for the longest while. And I said a wise leader, he don't only listen to the people that are around him supporting him. He listens sometimes to the people that don't support him. Like I said, because of the dynamic of now our Caribbean countries are going through, I would advise the Prime Minister to listen to people like all you, the business people on the island, the religious people, who let go his pride, because these are the people that creating work, like Mr. Sam Raphael, 100 and something people, Mr. Nasif, maybe almost thousands and something people. I would listen to those people and get their feedback, because they are the ones that in the engine room, they are the ones that put oil in the engine. And unless he don't do that, trust me, we can fight amongst ourselves as the wolf. We will just eat one another. You see what happening in America? Martin Luther King was telling the black people that all the time, but the white people didn't realize it was going to affect even themselves. Look at what is happening in the States. Just look at what is happening in the States. So just take those little examples. You don't have to fight too much. You know, I know your program is coming to an end, but I think Mr. Gregoire was telling him he's one of the role models that can lead the people, because he had that dynamic. He had a program with the youth. I think that they call it the QPS, and he had a fashion garment. And just what Mr. Matthew is saying there, and all he's saying there, that's the way to go. There is no other way we can jump right. Just look at what is happening to the white people in America, in Israel, in Russia, towards Ukraine. Don't you think we have a hope? All that I'm saying is we black people in the Caribbean that have to come together.
Mm-hmm.
Just look at America. Just look at the black people after they get a little freedom, what they do to one another. In Dominica, they kill you for jealousy. A lot of young men you see died for a girlfriend. Some little petty things. It's happening. So, I mean, I've been talking for years, and I was a farmer, I was a tourism person. Just what you heard the lady saying from St. Croix. We look at that. We have sometimes 5,000 people on the island in the capital for the day, and as one of your brothers saying that we didn't put in a small bottle of water on it, and Clyde Farrell was doing that. I think Breezy was putting pineapple on it. Go and ask Lennox Clinton, he was manager of DCP, he used to put Colgate and things. How these people put those things on it? And you have a former manager of Banana, Mr. Oshie, writing the bananas, he can't sell a hand on it. And you're talking about marketing. The government is the one that's supposed to get market on the cruise ships, because when you go to Santo Domingos, the Santo Domingos put agriculture produce on the cruise ship. At least 5,000 people in Roseau, and most of these people stay on the ship. They do all water sports, they gamble, and they don't come up. And look at the beach right in Focole there. You just need to upgrade the beach, as the lady from St. Croix is saying, to go up to Pottersville. That's what the tourists like, you know, to mingle among the local people, cook food on the beach with wood. Lambert knew about it. Lambert is a tourism man. So
Yeah.
all I'm saying, the one day they will listen. Don't worry. Have a good night.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you so much, caller. Very valid points. And let me just make sure we acknowledge everybody else who's joining us on Facebook. Clara Lynn Warrington, always great to see you. June Charles, Alvin Thomas, always great to have you on board. Thank you for being here. So Kent, let me come to you, because again, the time is never in our favor, but just your thoughts so far, and if we should be concerned that the U.S. is frowning on our relationships with Cuba and China. So that's going to be our final question. We had other questions, but the time is running out on us. So Kent, your thoughts?
Yeah, well, okay, let me just jump a little bit back, and then I'll come right back to this.
Yes.
But the first caller who called, one of the things he said is, unless we get rid of this government, we're not going nowhere. I wanted to just touch on this a little bit. But I think two things can be done. We've got to do everything we can to get rid of this government, because obviously they are they are not capable of moving the country forward. They do not have what it takes, as they have demonstrated, or they are not willing, as you said, because they may be using poverty as a culture, as a strategy, or they are so focused on their own enrichment that they do not focus on the development of the people. For whatever the reason is, they have clearly demonstrated that they cannot do it. So that's one of the things. That's surely when it, with this government out of the way, the door will be open for better governance and for better chance for development. Having said that, though, and while we have to do that, everything it takes to get to that point, everything that's right that it takes to get to that point, while we have to do that, I have determined myself that I'm not just going to sit down and wait. And that is where Petra is calling for cooperation and all of that. I am going to work with everyone who wants to work to do what the government is supposed to be doing. And that's not easy. It's not easy to do that because you've got to position yourself so that you could do it, so that you have the time, so that you have the resources, or that you're creative, or you do things in such a way that you can overcome some of the challenges of not being in government. So clearly there are things that they have to have strategies and policies on that we need them to do the right thing. And when they do have the right policies and strategies, we should take advantage of it, of course. But there are other things where they're not doing what is right, and some of us have to step in. We have to step in. We have to come up with the right strategies. We have to come up with ways of cooperating with each other or working together. But it's not going to happen on its own, though. It's not just going to happen because we say that. It's going to happen when a few of us, or one of us, or several of us decide to set up the structures, to set up discussion forums with the view to coming up with real institutional arrangements for us to work together. And that is what I am dedicating my effort to over the next few months. We will do everything it takes to get better governance, but I personally, and those who want to join me, let's also do everything it takes to bring Dominica forward in spite of this government. Because you see, when we do that, it also creates the conditions for people to say, something better can be done, get rid of these guys. So I think the two things has to be done, and that's where I am, and that's what I'm going to do. But I just wanted to drop that point in. So, but to move to the other question that I know you want addressed, it's I always like the Errol Barrow theory. Satellites of friends of all, satellites of none. That's the famous saying by Errol Barrow, one of the prime ministers of Barbados, one of the early prime ministers of Barbados. I think he was the first prime minister of Barbados. And I think the government of Barbados have continued. I recently heard Mayor Motley saying the same thing in relation to the recent things concerning travel in the Caribbean and all that. So she said the same thing. And I think that's the most sensible position to take for countries like ours, that it's about our development and we have got to do what it takes to move our people forward. So the truth is, we have relied on America. The truth is, we have a lot of our diaspora reside there. There are a lot of skills that we can draw on. There's remittances from America. That is very important. As a matter of fact, remittances account for maybe, if last figure I saw, if I recall properly, 10% or more. As a matter of fact, what I recall for sure is that remittances contributed more to our foreign exchange earnings than agriculture and than tourism. If I can go back and check the figures again. So what I'm saying, and it's not just America, of course, there's folks in Antigua and Guadeloupe and UK, but the bulk of we have a very large group of persons, Dominicans living in the US. So it's a very important source for us. So I think from a practical point of view, and we have to do everything that it takes to maintain good relations with the US. So from a practical point of view, we've got to do that. Now, on the other hand, we've got to look to other partners. I see, for instance, that there are opportunities that the Barbados government is looking for towards exploiting in relation to Nigeria. We haven't explored some of the other African countries with whom we can develop relationships with, and countries where there's a win-win. Win-win meaning that they benefit, we benefit. It's not a one-way street. I definitely want to avoid countries that seem to not care about our environment or that seem to want to exploit us. So jump for the US, jump into China, that's not for me. Because as far as I'm concerned, what they have demonstrated doesn't seem to me in the best interest, although I have not looked at all the information yet, but it doesn't seem to be best interest. I mean, what is this going on with our mining? Is it supported by the Chinese government directly? What's going on there? I don't want to jump from one country where we have remittances and destroy that relationship, right? And jump to another one where they don't care about the environment and prepared to wreck our country and destroy our country or let it happen, or where they are giving advice to the government of how to police our country and how to repress our people, the kinds of strategies that they have used in their own country to suppress opposition. That's not the kind of country I want to embrace by destroying the relationship with one where there are clear ties with the diaspora and benefits we can get from the diaspora. All right. So I am no fan of, well, put it like that. As a country, we ought to do what is best for the nation, and also what's best for the nation, but also what is morally right as well. Okay, I do not support a country that repress or support the systems of a country that repress free speech and can potentially export that to us through the support of bad policing and so on. So I am not there. With respect to Cuba, I understand the situation in Cuba. I understand what they have done as a people. I understand the great odds that they have faced and the struggle that they have had and the ways in which they have developed their medical industry and all of that. And I applaud them for that, and the ways in which they have contributed to our countries as well for the medical industry and so on. And again, I applaud that. Indeed, we ought to ensure that there is good administrative arrangements when it comes to ensuring that persons who supply skills are paid properly. I think, I don't know the details on that, but I think that's a good thing to do. So if that's what the US is asking for, I think it's only fair to ensure that there's no exploitation. I don't know the details as to whether or not there's really exploitation, so I cannot say there is or there isn't. But I'm saying if there is, we ought to ensure that is not so. You follow what I'm saying? So I am saying that a good government looks at all the situation, all the realities, makes a proper analysis, and I'm not saying that I have done that. But you would make that proper analysis and you do what is right. So that's what I'm saying. We do what's right for Dominic, and we do also what's right, what is morally right. So do I support a government that represses its people? No. Do I keep my mouth shut just because you give me an airport and charge me high interest rates and bring your own people to do it and leave my people unemployed? So we have to measure all these things. But I value the relationship with the US. It's unfortunate that we have an administration in the US at the moment that seem to be a bit crazy, if we can use that word. And hopefully it will blow over. They will come back to sanity. We hope that. The Americans themselves hope that will happen. But I would not want us as a country to blow our relationship with the US. But it seems as if this current government, in terms of the way they speak, in terms of the things they say, they seem to be going in the direction of blowing the relationship with the US. And that's not good. It has caused the US to put greater focus on us. So we are where we are because our government currently have not done the right things. They have not done the right things, and there's added focus, added scrutiny of what we are doing. We ought to correct these things to ensure that we maintain a reasonably good relationship with the US, notwithstanding the fact that the current administration may be doing crazy things, but we have to correct on our side as well. So that is what I would say on the matter for now.
Yes, thank you for that. And we have to wind down this evening, but I'm hoping that we can continue this conversation. But Kent, I like the way you summarized pretty much in essence what Roots Connections is about, because we do believe in putting the necessary pressure on the government in terms of putting the policies in place that is needed for the development of Dominica, ensuring the infrastructure, the markets are available, because that is the role of the government, to create that enabling environment for the development, the sustainable development of the country and the people. But in the meantime, as you so eloquently said, we're going to continue to build on what we're doing. We're going to continue to look at what can we do ourselves. So whether we're speaking about Dominicans on the ground, Dominicans in the diaspora, the Caribbean region, we have a tremendous diaspora of Caribbean people around the world. So we cannot just focus on Dominica. So yes, we're going to start with Dominica, but then we're going to bring the rest of the Caribbean and the Caribbean diaspora into the fold. So I want to welcome you to our strategic alliances that we create here on Roots Connections. Petra will tell you, she knows it well. So we have the DLC, and I keep a note of it so we can see how we're growing. We have the DLC, Petra, Armor. We have also Barney's Farms. We have Glamorous Acres in Florida. And so we are going to welcome your resort as part of that strategic alliance, because the goal of this program is to really create those strategic alliances and then see how we can use those to leverage our skills and leverage our talents out here in the diaspora and on the ground in Dominica for the sustainable development of Dominica. So welcome to the Strategic Alliance.
Indeed. Thank you. Sounds great. I would love to be a part of it.
Yes. So what we can do, I will certainly connect you with Petra. But in the meantime, in terms of what you're trying to do, if you want to post your contact information, whether it's email or phone number, if you can post it in the private chat in StreamYard, I think there should be a button at the bottom of your screen somewhere. If you can find it, it says private chat. If you can post your contact information in there so I can share it with the audience, that would be great. But let us do our wind down final thoughts. And again, thank you. You found it?
Oh, that was me.
Oh, hold on. Yeah, I think Kent is trying to find, you found the private chat, Kent?
Oh, not yet. I'm sorry.
If you don't see it, then send it to me via WhatsApp and I'll share it.
Okay, yes. Okay, I'll do that.
Let's do that instead. So Lennon, your final thoughts, 2 minutes as we wind down.
Oh God of mercy, I wish I had more time, because
I know we'll do another program.
you ask an important.
Keep your notes. We'll do another program.
You ask an important question about the China and American. I've said that on several fronts again. For us to understand where we are right now, go back to the history. Just take a brief look at the history of the development of China, Taiwan, the Communist Party. Look at how America started, and you will understand why America is the way it is. I'm going to be blunt. If I'm in a relationship with a country where I don't see the benefits after 25 years in my exporting my juice, in exporting my water, we have a 1 point something billion airport bill from all our passports, and it's not benefiting the people. I don't see the things. The trade imbalance, we don't talk about GDP, we don't talk about gross national product. These conversations need to be had when we're talking about examining a relationship. And I'm trying to be quick, but I have to point that out. The GDP of China per capita, that means per person, is $13,000. Dominica is $10,000. We're not very far off. So what that tells you is the people in China do not have as much wealth, whereas in the US it's about $90-something thousand. I learned something from doing my MBA in energy management, right? There's a law in the US called the ad column law. It means heaven to earth. It means heaven to, it means hell to earth, or earth to the sky. And every mineral resource that is underneath somebody's property belongs to that person. The United States is the only country in the world that allows its citizens to own the minerals and resources that is on their property. You know why, I'm Dr. Simone? Because human beings have always struggled in who manages the resources, how those resources are used, and how those resources are distributed so that the population can have equitable access to that. The reason why we revolted against monarchies is because nobody could afford to own resources. That stuff still exists. The reason why we have a guy like Donald Trump and Americans are demonstrating no kings It's because there are men through generations, through history, who think that they are God's gift to the world. And right now, the United States has an individual who thinks he's a king and can dictate to people. But guess what? Because of the democratic system, in the next few months, there'll be a midterm election. And to prevent revolution, the American people will go to the ballot box and show their disdain, because that's what democracy is about. And in another 3 years, they have another opportunity to change their government. Just imagine if the Americans did not have an opportunity to change their government. There will be civil war, there will be revolution. That's what democracy avoids. So the government doesn't have to use force to oppress its people to comply to their way of thinking. Communism is another form of monarchy where instead of family line for leadership, it's leadership by association. It's wealth by association. We saw that in Dominica when one gentleman was given passports to sell so he can build a hotel for his family and his generation. What gives him more right than any other Dominican? So if you are asking me a question, let's analyze the relationship of the U.S. market with Dominica. The U.S. is still the largest market of goods and services to the Caribbean. Here is Petra shipping to the United States. She's not shipping to China. She's not. The Chinese are bringing their citizens to Dominica to open businesses to compete. Earlier on, I said a market is people and the availability of resources. You have 1.4 billion people. Why do you need a market in Dominica? Why do you need your produce to be sold in Dominica? It's because their GDP per capita is $13,000 per person. You see that makes sense? And while they have an excess in trade balance, they are using it to build weapons, to increase their military, to do all these things. So we are pretending to be ignorant, to think that China is not looking out for its own interests, just like the United States. But I'll tell you what, the philosophy of the United States is that the people have the power, and it's demonstrated through elections, through selecting presidents and changing presidents every 4 years. Well, guess what? In Russia, you can't do that. In North Korea, you can't do that. In Cuba, you cannot do that. In China, you can't do that. And if we let the Chinese continue to influence our election, then guess what has been happening for the last 15 years? The Chinese have been influencing our election in Dominica through soft methods. Now they're not even hiding the fact that they're supporting the appointment of Roosevelt Skerrit with a bunch of Chinese ambassadors sitting there inviting other Caribbean leaders. They have said it. Roosevelt Skerrit have gone to China and tried to twin our DBS radio. He's tried to dress as a Chinese. So we are not a satellite of China. If the country is, our GDP in Dominica is $600 million, whereas Barbados, and I printed some information, and I wish we had time to talk about that. Mm-hmm. Our GDP in Dominica is about $600 million. Barbados is $7 billion. Most of the other countries in the Caribbean are in the billions. Dominica, with a relationship with China, is still at $600 million. And we are here questioning whether we should have a relationship with America or China when our students study in America. They get jobs in America. I am an example of that. We have cultural ties. We have every tie in the world. We have one country that comes in for their own interest and props up a leader who has the communist tendency. Can you imagine if we don't have the ability to vote to remove somebody who's a thief, who is corrupt, and who's corrupting the nation, and we are sitting here trying to be diplomatic? Let me tell you something. Give us 3 more years, Donald Trump will be gone. Yes, there are some things in the U.S. policy will stay. You go find out about the Monroe Doctrine, you will find out why the U.S. is the way it is. But that's what democracy is. It is not pretty, but the people have the power and the opportunity to effect change. And I will support any system that allows people to develop wealth, to be independent, to be the best of themselves, to use their talents and their skills, and not to be subjugated by a few. That's where I will.
Yes. Thank you, Lennon. So, guys, don't forget, grab your pen and paper if you're listening on the radio, because I will be sharing the contact information. But Petra, I guess Lennon took like 5 minutes, so you have 30 seconds to wind down because Lambi needs to get home.
Yeah, definitely. So I'm going to leave tonight and just say, for example, I see, and the culture that I see that we're trying to give in Dominica is we're trying to blame America for protecting their own needs and their own boundary. And so, for example, if you go to Dominica and you buy a piece of land, and the previous owner had people passing through there as a shortcut, we call it in Dominica. And when you buy that property, you fence the property, because that is your property. Are you wrong for fencing the property just because the previous owner was letting others pass through there to go to their property? No, because the property belongs to you. So we have to understand that, yes, US is putting the ban and all that, but what are your government doing? What is Dominica government doing to ensure that if things are to change in the world, which is change is a must, it's constant, how are we going to benefit from the changes that the other governance of other places will put in place? That should be our question. And that is why we have to vote for people who are forward thinking and does not make us dependent on them, but make us independent so that we can grow at our own pace. So right now, we have dependency syndrome in Dominica, which we need to break. And we have that syndrome of somebody must, diaspora, my auntie, my uncle in US must send me money if I need it. So there is no need for me to go to vote in Dominica and change the governance, because if I need something, I can get it from my relatives in America. We need to change that mindset, and maybe those in America need to tighten up their boots and say, no. You can make change in Dominica. Let change happen in Dominica, and then we will support you in your change doing. Thank you.
Or what Amma said the last time she was on the program. Instead of sending the money to your relatives, send it to a trusted community leader so that we can create those opportunities, because we see that the government is not interested in creating the opportunities. But guys, I want to thank you, Petra, Kent, Lennon. What a powerful conversation. And we go beyond the conversations here on Roots Connections. We go to the solutions. So some wonderful solutions. And again, we want to welcome Sabithi River Resorts to the strategic alliance that we're building. So Kent, you let us know what you need, but that's what we do. And then we use Roots Connections to promote and to support and to invite others to this collaboration. So let me share some contact information very quickly. Petra, I have your phone number on your website listed at area code 340-423-7502. So again, if you're interested in getting in touch with Petra in terms of the agriculture, the shipping, and the markets that she's creating, the phone number area code 340-423-7502. And if you're looking to get in touch with Mr. Kent Vital, I'll just give them one email address, and that's going to be Kent Vital, so KENTVITAL, the number 2 at gmail.com, or his phone number 767-265-9450. Again, 767-265-9450. So guys, we want to thank you for being here. Thank you for contributing to the program. We're going to continue to work towards building the strategic alliances for the sustainable development of Dominica. But once again, if you joined us late, we looked at, if not the CBI, what with the US travel ban and other restrictions, what is that strategic plan that we're going to use to secure the future of Dominica? And all our guests did a wonderful job of providing not only the solutions, but talking about what they themselves are doing to advance our country, our people, and the region. So as I always say, as you listen to these programs, I want you to think of what role you can play out there in the audience. And if you're working on something that is for the development of Dominica, to move Dominica, our people, or the region forward in an important way, you can always reach me at pushpast10@gmail.com. So that is pushpast10@gmail.com. Or like I always say, people always seem to find my phone number. So if you can find my phone number, then you're welcome to reach out to me via WhatsApp. So I want to thank you, Lammy. Thank you for being on the console. I want to thank our listeners in the audience and those who joined us on Q95 FM radio on Facebook and YouTube, and Push Past 10 on Facebook. So until the next time, I want to wish you a good evening, a pleasant good night, and I want to thank you for your support, because we all have a role to play in the sustainable development of Dominica and our Caribbean region. So I hope you too are out there thinking of ways you can contribute. So with that, guys, you can unmute your mics and say farewell, good night to the audience, and have a great rest of your week. Take care.
All right. Good night, everyone.
All right. Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Roots Connections on Q. 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. every other Wednesday on Q95, the big station. Dominicans journeyed beyond our shores for decades in search of economic opportunities and educational advancement. Many are ready to give back to their cherished nature island.